now. Hey everybody, I'm here with PMP News and Chief Jones, and we're going to have a chat tonight. Uh-oh, Steve vanished. There he is, Mr. Aquarium Man there. We're going to have a chat tonight about Terry versus Ohio and what constitutes a detainment versus what constitutes an arrest. And Chief Jones is going to lead us off. Go ahead, Chief.
Well, let me tell you, in the police academies, and I've been in more than one, they always go to Terry versus Ohio. Detainments, stop and frisk, all this sort of thing. But here's the unwritten unwritten rules on the side of a cop from the academy point of view. You can reasonably detain somebody for a limited amount of time. And so over the years, they've tried to say, well, how long is a limited amount of time? 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. So they got to saying, hey, if you hit 30 minutes, unless you're really on the verge of making an arrest, you've got to cut them loose. And a detainment, uh, they've got more liberty to go a few foot one way, a few foot another. Usually you're not cuffing them unless they pose a serious threat. But everything you say to the police that you think is consensual, everything that they're asking you that you answer is building from second one, from eye contact, the way they see you move, talk, act, demeanor. They're making mental notes. And when they get there and ask you something, you can invoke immediately. I don't want to talk to you.
And that is probably the best thing to do beyond answering simple questions like, do you have your driver's license? Yes, sir, I do. Are you carrying any weapons? Maybe I am, maybe I am. Depending upon your state, you may have to let them know that. Some states don't require you to. However, if you are armed and you do not tell a police officer you're armed and he spots that weapon, there's a good chance you're going to end up at gunpoint. So it's my personal preference. This is my personal choice that anytime I'm stopped by law enforcement, I let them know I am armed and where the firearm is at.
I do the same thing. That's my policy. Uh, you know, Even when I was active duty, if I happened to be in somebody else's jurisdiction that I just happened not to know that cop that stopped me, I got my hands on the steering wheel, my window down. Now, a lot of people say don't put your window down, but a crack because they'll say I smell cannabis or whatever. But me, I just rolled it all the way down, got my hands on the steering wheel. How you doing?
Well,
What can I
that
do?
whole thing of put your window down a crack so they can't smell dope in your car is BS. If you crack your window and you've been smoking dope in that car, you can smell it.
Oh, of course.
If the window's up and you've been smoking in there, they're going to smell it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have stood beside cars like coming out of Walmart or whatever, and somebody parked next to me and had been smoking dope in their car, and I mean the car just reeks with the windows up,
Yeah.
you know, and so
If you've never smoked dope in your life before and they're assholes, they're going to smell it.
yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep. But but going back to the Terry versus Ohio, we're gonna have Steve here kind of pull that up and share it with us so we can read it off to us and we can go over that a little bit. You ready,
Sure.
Steve?
Yeah. Let me get over here.
We caught him off guard. He must be eating potato chips or something over there.
No, I got it. I just got to get over to it.
Well, see, I just want to say,
Can y'all see it?
yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
Right.
You
I'll
gonna
move
read
it
it,
over.
David?
I'll move it over here to this screen so I can see it better. All right.
You want to read it, Steve, or you want me to read it?
Go ahead.
Terry versus Ohio. It's 392 U.S. 1 from 1968 was a landmark decision of the United States Supreme Court in which the court ruled that the Fourth Amendment's prohibitions on unreasonable searches and seizures is not violated when a police officer stops a suspect on the street and frisks him or her without probable cause to arrest. If the police officer has a reasonable suspicion that the person has committed is committing or is about to commit a crime and has a reasonable belief that the person may be armed and presently dangerous. For their own protection, after a person has been stopped, police may perform a quick surface search of the person's outer clothing for weapons if they have reasonable suspicion that the person stopped is armed. This reasonable suspicion must be based on specific and articulable facts and not merely upon an officer's hunch. This permitted police action has subsequently been referred to in short as a stop and frisk or simply Terry frisk. The Terry standard was later extended to temporary detentions of persons and vehicles known as traffic stops. See Terry stop for summary of subsequent jurisprudence. The rationale behind the Supreme Court decision revolves around the understanding that as an opinion votes, the exclusionary rule has its limitations. The meaning of the rule is to protect persons from unreasonable searches and seizures aimed at gathering evidence, not searches and seizures for other purposes like preventing crime and the personal protection of police officers. Okay, you can take that off the screen, Steve. So, a Terry frisk allows officers to do a pat down of your person. They cannot go into your pockets. They can't go into your pocket, get your wallet, take it out. They can't do any of that unless, if they felt your shirt pocket and it felt like there was a gun in there, they can go in there and see if it's a gun or not. And if it is a gun, they can relieve you of that for the duration of the detention. And so anytime a police officer wants to pat you down, the Terry standard is he has to have reason to believe you're armed. But we've seen this bastardized by police where they just automatically go to frisking or doing a Terry frisk on everybody.
Yeah,
Right.
We've seen that over and over again.
Yeah, here's what they claim. Well, we don't know if you're armed. Well,
But that's not what the Terry decision said.
Yeah, you have no reason to believe I'm armed. What's your reason? Well, I suspect. But on what basis do you suspect?
Right. And I've done this before. I have made complaints against officers that did Terry frisks without anything. I mean, they just walk up and start frisking me. Precinct 8 constables, for instance, are a good example. There's a video of that where the constable just pulled over, walked up to me, and started frisking me. And of course, the agency found that he was within his rights, blah, 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 blah. So we're probably not going to see a change in that. If anything, it's getting worse because I've had officers frisking me going into my pockets.
Well, that video I just did recently, the cop said, "I see a bulge in your pants." All right. Now, yeah, that's what I thought. I was thinking at first. What he was saying, what he was talking about was his wallet. A wallet does not look like a gun. He knows better.
Right.
Well, I mean, the proper response when an officer says you have a bulge in your pants is to tell him you have an erection.
Yeah.
Did you want to feel that?
I was thinking about my wife.
Yeah. Just got off the phone with my girlfriend,
Yeah.
and
I wasn't thinking about you, officer.
Yeah,
I was thinking about my wife.
Oh, we're bad. So, but there you have. I mean, so once again, law enforcement, bastardizes this, and everybody's going to say, I can hear it already. Sue them, sue them, sue them. Okay, so here's what's going to happen when you sue them. You're going to spend $25,000. You're going to get a judge that says they should not be doing that. They violated your rights, and then he's going to give you $1.
Yeah.
You're going to spend $25,000 to get that judgment for $1, and his verdict that says they shouldn't have done that, and they're going to continue to do it. Nothing's going to change except that you're going to be out $24,999. That's it.
And I wonder how much of the stuff that we've seen we could actually take into small claims court.
Small claims won't do it. You have to go federal. You have to do a 18 USC. What is it? 18242. Is that what it is, Chief?
Yeah.
1983.
US 42.
Yeah, it's 1983.
Yeah,
What's the other one when it's a federal employee? Then it's a Bivens, isn't it? Isn't it a Bivens action when it's a federal employee?
That sounds right, but I'd have to look back and make sure you
Okay.
caught me wrong
I
here.
think so. In 1983 would be against a state actor, but if they're federal, I think you file it as a Bivens action. But I'm not sure. I'm not a
What's the
lawyer.
Baines? What's the Baines Act?
Baines Act.
Yeah, I hear the
Um,
ones out in California talking about it a lot.
it may be something that's specific to their state.
Yeah,
Right.
maybe.
That I suspect that's what it is.
But
But
here's the thing. You're making a claim to the police officer immediately. Hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm searching you for weapons. Well, wait a minute. You can't do that. Yeah, we can't. No, no, sir. You cannot. Okay. So I'm giving you notice that you are about to batter me just like anybody else, and you're not going to be able to go on Terry versus Ohio. So I'm giving you notice up front that ain't going to work.
well, and again, Terry is very specific. In order for an
Right.
officer to detain you and have any kind of power over you, he must suspect you have committed a crime, you're about to commit a crime, you know, or have are
It's like,
yeah
yeah,
have
like,
are
I think
are
I'm a
about to.
reasonable.
Yeah, and absent that, in his ability to articulate why he believes that one of those three things is in play, he has nothing. Nothing. Yet they detain people all the time for lawful activity.
Well, let me
I'm
tell you.
investigating. Well, you're investigating nothing because you know there's nothing going on. You haven't
Here's
seen
the
anything.
here's the thing that good attorneys and judges that used to come teach us said, listen, when a man or woman that you have detained or that you're arresting, so you have articulable reasonable suspicion or probable cause, depending on the circumstances, when they put a demand on you, what is your articulable reasonable suspicion? You don't get to say, I'll talk to you about that later. You have to tell them then, because if you don't, there's the appearance of impropriety that you're going to take the next 5 or 10 or 20 minutes, talk to other cops, and see what y'all can dream up. So you have to tell them immediately under detention why you are detaining them, and it has to be articulable reasonable suspicion. It doesn't mean that the citizen has to believe what you're saying, but you're going to have to say it and you got to stick by it. And if it's not enough to detain them, then you got poisonous fruit of the tree.
Hey, Chief, but we hear a lot in the comments and from cops that I don't have to tell you that. You can talk to the judge about that. What do you
They're
think?
wrong. They're
Policy, well,
wrong.
and most agencies have a policy that requires them. As a matter of fact, like Louisiana, I'll give you a good example. State of Louisiana, an officer must, it's in their constitution that an officer must inform you why you're detained or arrested at the time of the detainment or arrest, unless there are exigent circumstances. I mean, if he walks up to you and says, "Excuse me, sir, come here, I want to talk to you," and you go to swinging on him, he don't have to tell you anything. He's going to be too busy defending himself. But even in
Right.
places where that's not required, the policy of most agencies, and this is not universal, most agencies' policy is that when you interact with somebody, say a traffic stop, when you go up you go up and you ID yourself. I'm Officer so and so from such and such police department, and the reason I stopped you is because you were speeding. Can you have a driver's license and insurance? I mean, that's generally policy. But when you get these officers, it's I'll tell you when you give me your stuff. Okay, you're already you should know when an officer comes up acting like that you are in the presence of a tyrant, somebody that's
And we see that on stop
absolutely,
when so they're
absolutely,
giving you a ticket. We see it all
absolutely.
the time. I'll tell you once you give me your stuff. Yeah. Oh, no, no, no. You tell me first. And do you know why I stopped you? No, officer, I don't have any donuts. I just don't know what's going on.
Uh, you stop me because I'm out of donuts. Okay.
Hey, I tell everybody this, and I say it all the time. The day before 9/11, we had peace officers the day before 9/11. Every cop that went through the academy at 9/11 forward is a different breed of cop. So you're 18 years in. So if you don't have a cop that has at least 19 or 20 years in, he don't remember pre-19. He wasn't trained and conditioned. Now that don't mean there wasn't bad cops in the 70s and 80s.
I was going to say there. The one I met a bunch of bad ones long before that.
Yeah, but I'm saying back in the 70s and 80s, constantly we would have supervisors, sergeants, lieutenants, captains come tell us, hey, knock it off, knock it off. That was their big word. And that didn't mean you was committing a crime, didn't mean you was even violating policy, but you was doing something that was slowly going that way. And they were telling you, knock it off before you and me get in trouble. Because, you might have some young cops that's alpha males. They're, getting into that, pushing each other, just like weightlifters. Oh, you can do a little bit better than that. Oh, you're weak, you know. So they push each other, and it's a man versus man thing. I'm King Kong. Well, I'm Hercules. Okay. So they would egg each other on, and the sergeants and supervisors say, knock it off, or it's, you'll be out of a job and you might be in a cage. So they did that. But now they're teaching police literally to be scared of their shadow. They're
Well,
teaching them to be suspicious of everything. They're teaching people to squeal on anybody for anything, see something, say something. Well, I saw the sun come up, so should I call the police? I saw the stars come up, should I call the police? Hey, somebody just drove down my street. There goes two guys walking. What in the world are they talking about? See something, say something.
Yeah,
You
they
know?
teach them teach every. I mean, treat every stop like your life is in danger.
I saw
Yeah, I
something.
mean,
I just saw something Tuesday that was. I didn't have a camera with me. I was afoot. Um, but they run a criminal justice class downtown, and they had the guys from the class. They were all outside, and they were wearing guns. And these are all the guys doing the community college certification course. And I watched these guys as I'm walking by. They're out there drawing their guns and pointing at each other, going pew 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 pew, like they're shooting each other and stuff. And I'm just thinking, man, I wish I had my camera.
Oh yeah.
This is what they're teaching these guys, and this is where most of the local constables come from. Most of the local constables are coming from these community college courses. No wonder they're so trained poorly. It's crazy. It's crazy. If you had seen that, Chief, you'd have fainted. I was
oh
like,
yeah.
I mean, I was
Hey,
just couldn't believe it.
a guy that I went to a police academy with, he had come out of the army like 6 years, and he was a buck sergeant. He went to work in the next jurisdiction. They tell him, don't be playing with your guns, don't this, that, the other. Well, he shot himself in the ass, and then it went through the floorboard in the car. Okay, so he goes to the save all. I was cleaning my weapon, and it accidentally discharged. Hell no, you was playing with your gun, and damn near shot yourself worse than you did.
Yeah.
So
And all you officers out there that came from the military, you're not in a war zone. This is not Fallujah or any place else. This is the United States, and not everybody's out to kill you. Get over it.
right. Well, see, I always say, and I know I don't even know. I don't even know the number. I just know so many cops all over the country for so many years and working in joint operations and one thing and another. And when they needed to know something, they called me. They didn't call their captains or sergeants or the people. They'd call me as soon as the cell phones come out. I was getting my call, and I said, why don't you call your captain or your sergeant or somebody? Well, they don't seem to never know about these things. And they could be in another state. And I said, well, I don't know the specific law there. Well, I just want to know if this is true and this is true. Can I do this? And I said, well, in my state, you can. I don't know about your state. You know, it, I'm saying, you shouldn't be out on the road if you don't know some of these basics. Come on. This is stupid.
You would be
How
And
far do we?
amazed. You would be amazed at what all they need is their certification. And then they'll go to like one of these constable departments, and I've talked to numbers of officers at these constable departments, and they're like, oh yeah, they did a ride along, they gave me 3 hours of instruction on how to use the MDT and the mobile data terminal and the radios and all this stuff, and then they turned me loose. That's all the training I got. What?
Well, see, way back in Texas, constable's offices come along first. Now, there's a long story to it, and I won't get into it here. But your constable was your local nice guy that was a citizen, that was a peace officer. And in Texas, originally, there was no certification, there was no such a thing. And if there was not an elected constable in your precinct or district, whatever it's called in your area, the pharmacist was automatically the constable.
That's crazy. Yeah, they didn't start certifying peace officers in Texas till 72 or 74.
Yeah, I think T-Close originated in '69, but they didn't start doing the certification till between 70 and 73, somewhere in there.
Yeah, it was somewhere. I mean, I was a little kid at the time. I just remember my dad had to get, he was grandfathered in, but he still had to get a certification card or something. He was working for a constable up in Montgomery County when that all started, and so I just remember it was it's something he made jokes about at one time. But
Well, put it this way: in 1986, a man that had been a constable, a deputy constable, and deputy sheriff for somewhere between '69 and '72. Okay, they didn't have no academies then. In '86, they were going to close the loophole because if you went out of law enforcement, there wasn't no break in service. In '86, in the summer of '86, that was coming about. Well, this guy, he had a lot of smarts. He's just a general smart guy, and we got him under the wire by a week. If it had been a week later, he had to go to the whole academy. But he never went to the academy from '69 to '72 working, and then he goes like 14 years, nothing, and the law's changed a lot, and he gets on. But he had common sense, and he did better, way better than people coming out of the academy. Just common sense and logic, And he was the guy, just like me. Sometimes we might be the only cop on the street, and if we call for backup, and they're hauling butt, lights and siren, no traffic, no nothing, you're 15 minutes away from help. Okay, and sometimes some deputies or city police that had 4 or 5 or 6 cops on the road, they were crying because it was taking 2 minutes, or they had 3 or 4 people back them up. Well, hell, we're used to working all by ourselves around the clock, And I said, some of these bigger cities want to make jokes about us. Oh, you're a small department. Well, guess what? I do everything from answer the phone to prosecute the case.